Welcome to the J.Geiger Studios podcast, where we help you achieve your ideal outcome. We're here to provide value to you and your organization every step of the way. I'm your host and guide on this journey, Jeff Geiger, and I'm happy that you are here with us today. Today in the studios, we have Jordan Geiger, our producer.
And the crowd goes wild.
That's right. Hey, it's a different spot, you being behind the microphone today. That's pretty cool.
It's in addition to my current setup, or usual setup, which would be my laptop and the audio interface, but now I have a mic in front of my face, so that's pretty interesting.
Cool. Yeah, we're actually, we have a list of some equipment to add to our repertoire, so we can add you, because I think your comments and insights, people can only hear you in the background. Now they'll be able to hear what you have to say.
It's currently like this.
That's right. That's right, way off in the distance.
Soon it'll be like this.
That's right. Okay, so I think the funny thing would be, can you tell us apart? Hi, this is
Jeff Geiger.
That's right. From so we're in the car together or something, and I'll say, "Hey Siri," and Jordan's phone will respond.
Here, try it once.
Hey Siri. Did it work?
It
worked. Oh my god. Yeah. Chip off the old block. That's right. Yeah, if people didn't know, Jordan, you're my youngest son.
Yep.
Younger brother to Justin.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting, interesting career. You've been doing our marketing and all that sort of stuff. A few years ago, you did internship while you're going to college. I don't know. You've been involved in the business, not as long as Justin now, but he's 11 years as of yesterday, I think.
As of Tuesday.
Yeah.
It was announced on Tuesday, so yes, yesterday.
Yeah. Tell me about why don't you tell everybody about yourself a little bit? Like, how did you get here?
Well, I've worn many hats here at J. Geiger, and I've been on and off for the last,
It's got to be 5 years, right?
5 years, yeah. When I was fresh out of high school, I think I did some work for J. Geiger, and, it was just here and there, clean up and all that. But that was before we really got bigger and turned the office that we used to have into 2 spaces. It was even before that.
Yep.
But I've been off and on. I was a painter for a while. That was a really fun gig, just right after college.
Window washer
in high school.
That was pretty fun too, right?
Yeah.
You got to meet some characters.
For sure, yeah.
Some friendships maybe along the way. Maybe not friendships, but you got to make some good relationships along the way.
Yeah.
And see life from a different point of view.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of different people with different walks of life. But it's been really good here working as the marketing specialist, and
yeah, I mean, you are the marketing department.
That's right. Well, I mean, Joy does help me out a lot.
Yep.
She's got a very creative eye and has some really fresh takes on a lot of things. So it's always good to have someone in your corner. But yeah, I do take on the majority of the marketing responsibilities, including producing this new podcast that we have.
If anybody's interested, go out on our LinkedIn page and scroll way, way, way back there. Go back a couple years, and then you'll start to see things transform. And then you're like, that was life before Jordan.
That's right.
We'll call that PJ or AJ.
AJ.
Yeah, AJ after Jordan. That's right. We'll measure our time based on that. Yeah, and along the way, when you were still in college and you wanted some work and whatnot, we looked at because we need help in all kinds of different ways. So you just pitched in wherever you could.
Right.
You volunteered to paint the other office. That was one.
Yeah.
Used your skills for that.
Yep. That was a really fun project.
Yeah,
I didn't do it alone. We had our resident handyman, Max, help me out.
That's right, Max.
Yep.
Yeah. Max took a full-time job, so he's not doing that stuff as much. He's not as available, although he's a little bit available.
He's good at his work, that's for sure.
And he's got a hardworking, good work ethic kind of guy. So.
And he's a falcon.
He's a falcon.
That's
he's
pretty
a
cool.
Falconer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. So on we do all kinds of things here within the marketing sphere, and because you're a one-man team, even though you get input from other people on the team, what are some of the things that you are most proud of that we've done on the marketing side of things?
Definitely this podcast, because it's had a lot of good reception so far. Us being, 7 episodes in?
Yep, I think that's right. This is the 7th one now, or 6th?
This today, I don't know.
Depends on what order they get released in, right?
Yeah, I think I'll release it in the order that it's been recorded, but I think today, as of today, it's the 6th episode that's been published.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say this is one of my favorite things, just because of my musical background, and I get to use what I learned in college, actually.
Yeah.
So, and for those who don't know, I did go to college, but I didn't finish. I was a business major at the beginning for the first 2 years, and then I decided to have a change of heart and pursue music, and that's
Wow.
right around. Yeah, what a change.
Yeah. Well, music has been a part of your life ever since you were little. Your mom and I can speak to that because we've watched you the whole way, and we never had to push you into anything.
Yep.
And for anyone who doesn't know, Jordan is not only a great singer, he went through the, and did all kinds of voice lessons and that sort of thing, went through the Appleton Boy Choir, but also a very accomplished drummer, and you're currently in a rock band.
That's right. Yeah. Check us out on Facebook, Avenue 55.
That's right. Kind of a party band,
Yeah.
rock, pop punk.
Yes.
So a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah.
And a great bunch of guys too. I can't say enough about what a nice group of men that you're playing with. Great,
Yeah.
great, family guys.
For sure. Yeah. I'm very lucky to be in the position that I am, playing with such talented and, respectful people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember still the when you got into voice and singing I remember, you were just a little kid. We were at the end of the Christmas parade for Appleton, downtown, the biggest nighttime Christmas parade in the U.S., at least. And the boy choir, it always ended at City Park with a tree lighting ceremony. And they don't do that anymore, but the Appleton Boy Choir would perform, people would speak, sing, play music, whatever, and then the boy choir would sing, and you saw them sing there, and you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
That was the spark, I'd say.
Yeah. And then you ended up, of course, you needed one of your parents, which your mom was right on it, and she got you involved.
Yeah. I'm really fortunate to have a mom that was a stay-at-home mom, because she was very attentive, and
she opened doors for you. That's
absolutely.
just kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then with the drumming thing, you went to school with a young man, and he was also a drummer, very, very good drummer as well. I think you guys are kind of competitors for a bit.
Yeah.
He was always, I felt like he was always like maybe a little bit more technical and more stiff with it. And you were more like, you were good, and you were also more entertainment oriented. Like, he was more technical, you were more entertainment oriented.
Let's just say I broke a lot more sticks than he did.
Is that the sign?
Yeah. Well, I was always a hard hitter, and I still am. But for sure, he was definitely more technical, and our music genres were definitely different, because he was a Dave Matthews guy, and that's very technical and intricate, while I was more of an Avenged Sevenfold kind of guy, where
That's a little different.
Yeah, I'd say so. But I was more focused on the flashy side and double bass.
Yeah, that's it. It's a lot of fun to watch. I'll tell you. Yeah, and so get back to when we were talking about like how you got from there to here. So you go to college. We give you some opportunities to get some real world experience working here. We called you an intern.
Yep.
And actually, it was you and Dave at the same time. Is that right?
Dave and I, we worked here.
And he was your roomie.
He was, for a number of years.
Yeah. And Dave actually came back for a while, and then he went to work for Go Guide. So Dave's still in the sphere. In fact, he's right outside this door working on something right now, but not with J.Geiger anymore.
Right.
But he, you and him came in. get some real world experience. We gave you like administrative tasks, like help us manage our mailing lists, go do this research, go build this, put this together, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we
Decorate
had
for Christmas.
we had many responsibilities, and that was before we had a designated office manager. So we were the ones taking on those tasks and managing the marketing side as well.
Right, and then it was about 2 years ago. It's almost your 2 year, or are you almost at 3 year for when you started doing the marketing? I'd have to go back and look at the records.
Yeah.
Has it been? I think it's been about 2 years, right?
It's probably 2, but it feels like 3.
Okay. And at that point, you took over our entire marketing, like strategy, everything. You have a creative mind, but what do you think in there was difficult, and what do you think was easy, and what have you learned along the way? Big questions there, I know.
Well, I'll start with what came easy to me. I am more creative, and so it was more easy for me to do the more creative things like creating graphics and posts
like
and
video
videos.
editing.
Yeah, all that creative stuff. But the things that I do struggle with are the analytical side because, it's like driving a spaceship. You don't really know exactly what buttons you need to push all the time. And that's something that I've been learning throughout these years. Because you watch a video for what analytics to track for whatever, but each company is different. And since we're a very niche business-to-business company, they don't have a lot of tutorials about that.
Usually they're marketing a product to an end consumer or
That's
something
what's
like
mainly
that.
out there. Yeah,
Right.
it's basically like, oh, do you have a online store?
Right.
This is what you should do. But unfortunately, we can't follow that model.
So along the way, we introduced a couple of mentors to, coaches to the fold. We started with someone down in the Milwaukee area who's an independent marketing specialist. And then also Kristen, who you could see on one of the other podcasts.
Yep.
She helped you out a bit. And so let's start with Kristen. What did she help with primarily? Because we also used her to help skill up our team for, doing presentations and making sure they're getting across the right communication. What did she help with for marketing?
Well, her position is she's a body language expert. So she...
That doesn't seem like it goes with marketing, but...
No, but it strangely does because you would think that this would be natural and you'd think of it right away, but it's not. People respond to faces, and incorporating as many faces as you can into your marketing is huge.
Right. And the faces have to be conveying the right message too.
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
if you have someone with an angry face.
You don't want like a sad clown picture. People aren't going to respond
Right.
good to that. But
and then I think partly too is like how you phrase stuff, how you format stuff, how you lay stuff out. All that stuff plays into the nonverbal aspect of your marketing communication.
absolutely,
And she helped with that.
yeah. Because you don't want a messy LinkedIn post, and if you have one of those, people aren't going to. The first thought people are going to think is, "Wow, these people don't have their stuff together."
Right.
They can't even put together a simple LinkedIn post. It's all hodgepodge Chat GPT stuff.
Right.
I do use.
We do use it. We can talk about that in a little bit too.
Yeah.
And then there's the specialists from down in Milwaukee. They, she ended up helping us with more of the blocking and tackling type stuff, right? More of the marketing specific.
Yep.
What's the biggest nuggets that you got from working with her? Should be organization.
I might have to cut this part.
Is she kind of checking your? So, what about the? So there's the woman that you were working with from down in Milwaukee area. She's helping you with some of the blocking and tackling in marketing.
Yep.
Like maybe, tell me a little bit about that. Like, where did it start, and are you kind of at about the end of where that leads?
Well, things are ever changing, so I'm not sure if I'm at the end, but she mainly helped with the questions that I would have, because
You're not a marketing major.
I'm not a traditionally trained marketing specialist. I've been learning as I go, and I've been having a lot of real world experience teach me what I need to know. But she's been kind of the guess and check part of my job.
So like she checks your work.
Yeah,
like
like
you run stuff by her, make sure you're on the right track.
Yep, and in that procedure, I would learn and do better continuously. So
now, she was helping us out, I think, initially with some of the like Google Analytics and some of that stuff too, right? Like pointing you in the right direction at least.
yeah, she helped us a lot by setting up our Google Analytics, especially during that time frame. Google was transferring from their past system to GA4, so she helped me get that all set up and make sure everything was correct. So.
Good. Yeah. So we do provide those kind of mentors. Now we're looking at working with a local marketing firm that would provide a whole menu of services. We just met with them the other day, and I think we're about to ink a deal for them to help us out.
Yeah, hopefully.
What are the things that you hope most to get out of that deal?
Well, they have what it seems to be a very robust analytics system. So they will be able to pull analytics from our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and put it into one dashboard. But, I mean, we could do that in-house, technically, with the skills that we have, but that does require time. And if there's already a system built, we might as well take advantage of it.
Right.
Also, they do have more expertise than I do on that sort of thing. So if they're able to suggest a different dashboard layout or
right.
what other analytics I should be tracking, they would be able to do that.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think they'll be able to help us out with are some of the ad hoc things that we're looking for, where we want to make improvements to this, or migrating our web page. We talked about that because we're on some software that you don't care for.
Yeah, I mean, it's done the job for a number of years, and I think it's time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I'd like to have something a little more changeable. I think we're kind of boxed in a bit with it.
Yep.
And I'm also looking forward to it was the reputation manager part of their offering, their service offering. It seemed really simple, but I guess if anybody's interested in learning more, reach out to us. We'll get you connected with them. But we currently have a Google rating of 1 or a 5, but with one vote.
Correct.
Yeah, and we need to get more.
Yeah.
Someone could go out there and give us a 1 star, and suddenly we're at 2.5.
Right.
That's not good. And it could be someone that we don't even know, or someone who, maybe didn't like something that we did, and boom, all of a sudden we're at 2.5, and that's not good.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't even think about. Again, you would think that would be something that you would initially think about, but it's so easy that it would change. Like you said, if someone were to give us a 1 star, we'd be doomed. But
I wouldn't say doomed. We'd
almost.
fix it. We would do what we always do, and we would be great, and we'd go chase after more of the 5 stars, and then it would be a 4.9 before you know it.
Or I could create some Google profiles, but
yeah, that's kind of a sneaky way to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've known a few people who have done that.
I don't want to do that.
No, I don't either. I want to do it the right way.
Yep. Yeah. So we were talking before about your music career and stuff like that. I worked with a guy who's a good friend of mine now, who's an accomplished musician. You know who I'm talking about. I just won't say his name here, but he could have been on tour. He's an accomplished bass player. He taught himself how to play guitar. He actually was touring with some country bands in his early days, but realized that he wanted to earn a little better living, have a better lifestyle, because most people have heard the stories of being in a band on the road isn't always easy, and even though you pay your dues, maybe you don't end up making it or whatever. It's not very conducive to having a family. He ended up choosing to focus on his career and make a living, get to a point where he can make a living, and then take that and be able to do the music on the side in his pastime. Is that kind of the direction you ended up choosing?
Well, life isn't always a straight line, and I'm starting to understand that now. I
Are you thinking of going on tour someday?
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to it. My big dream is to be like a session drummer, be on call for whoever needs a drummer for what they have recorded. But at the moment, I am living that life of I have a job, but I also am in a band. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
You don't have to rely on the band income in order to live on.
Yeah, and that's something I wouldn't want to do anyways, because you're right. Being in a band doesn't necessarily pay the bills unless you're constantly gigging, and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would be able to do that without a roadie.
That's right. Well, yeah, I don't know how many. You have to piece something together. You can't.
Absolutely.
You have to do session recording and this and that and perform and be on call for whatever. Like Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
That's how he made, like, how he kept things going early in his career. He told a story at a drum clinic that we were at, I remember, about Chuck Berry, and he drummed for Chuck Berry. Do you remember that story?
Oh, yeah.
And he added a little flair to some of his drumming, and Chuck Berry kept the smile on his face and turned around and said, "You'll never work for me if you do that again."
Yeah. He was that story is really funny because there's a very popular video of Chuck Berry and John Lennon going around with Yoko Ono in it.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to show you after the pod.
Right.
But
is it real?
it's very real.
Okay.
And Yoko Ono is in the back doing her thing, and she does that during a verse, and Chuck Berry's eyes go like this.
Like what?
You can't see me, but my eyes are very wide. And then during the second verse, they end up cutting our mic.
That's funny.
I'll show you the video after.
All right,
but,
I can't wait to see it.
and for those listening, you should definitely check it out because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and with the drumming and stuff like that. Now, when you left and went to college, you went into school of business. Originally, you were going to go to a music school.
Yeah.
You chose not to do that. That was all by your choice. What led to that?
Well, the schools that I was looking at, they were very expensive, and to be quite honest, I don't think I would have been able to get in, just because of my GPA. I had a fine GPA, but I don't think it was good enough for that.
These were colleges that required better than fine.
It was Belmont and Berkeley.
Okay.
So
Belmont down in Nashville and Berkeley out in Boston.
Yeah. So they were very very high,
prestigious.
Yeah, prestigious schools. So,
and you told the story a little bit earlier about how you switched from business degree and you're like, I'm going to try this music. I'll go to the music program. What did you find out when you did that?
The grass isn't always greener.
That's number one.
Absolutely, and sometimes you should. For me, at least, I wish I would have stayed in the College of Business because that's a very straightforward path, and there's many things that you could do with that degree.
Sure.
And
yeah, you would have had a degree 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. So if I would have just stuck with it and did the business degree for 4 years, I would have been qualified to do almost any job, especially if it was like a
business generalist,
general business degree. But yeah, no, I don't think I'd ever do that again. So sometimes you do got to take the easy route.
One thing that my perception of it was that you have a really great background in music, and you learned a lot with. You had piano, although you didn't really do that a whole lot. You did voice, piano, drums, and you learned a ton, more than normal people, way more than normal people.
Right.
In fact, I'd say journeyman level. Like you did that basically as your job for a number of years. Well, then you go to college, you kind of set it down and don't put time to it. And then you jump in 2 years into college. And is it that those early things probably didn't build the foundation fully, and then you skipped a couple years and it didn't continue that foundation, and then you jump in the deep end? Is that kind of what happened?
Almost. I did continue to foster that relationship with music during college because I was in the men's choir for a little bit.
I have video of that too.
Yeah, and that's a pretty fun story behind it. I don't know if we have time for it, but I was in the men's choir, and that was a lot of fun. It was definitely a different perspective on being in a choir because I grew up in the boy choir, which, I was a kid, and I was at 14 when I left, and 8 when I started. So it's quite different being in college. But I was also in a smaller band during college as well. That didn't really go anywhere, but I did a battle of the bands at school, so that was something. But it definitely wasn't as much work or time into it.
As what would have been needed if you would have...
If I wanted to continue doing what I was doing, yeah.
And so what'd you learn about the music program? It's pretty rigorous.
It's more difficult than I thought. I was pretty confident going into it, but learning that I would have to understand what, a sixth sounds like just by listening to it, a sixth interval sounds like just by listening to it, that's pretty difficult.
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well...
The music people out there would know that.
Yeah, it was more difficult than I anticipated, and I thought all those years behind me were going to just make it easy for me, but that wasn't the case.
Right. Well, it certainly would have been easier than someone who didn't have that music background jumping into it. But,
absolutely.
But still hard nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since then, you left school. It was the year before we got the lockdowns from COVID, and that was probably just divine providence. Because do you think you would have been a good remote learner?
Absolutely not. No, that was around the time too that I was really into Call of Duty Warzone.
Okay.
So I don't think I would have spent much time.
You would have been doing Call of Duty Warzone all the time and not going to class.
Yeah.
Or set a silhouette of yourself up in front of the video.
Well, Dave and I, we talked about...
Was he really good too?
He was good.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dave and I, we had a few classes together, and we would skip.
Okay.
But who didn't skip here and there?
I skipped classes in college a little bit.
Yeah, but imagine that, where you didn't actually have to go into class.
Yeah. I would have done terrible.
Yeah. That was another reason why I didn't want to continue on my college journey, was because of COVID, because I don't think I would have been a remote learner. So I took that time to start painting and do something totally different.
Yep.
And I think that was a really good experience for me, because I learned that I don't want to be working my body for the rest of my life.
So some of the guys you were working with were probably further on, and they've been doing it for 20 years, and they've got these major aches and pains.
Yeah, I've heard stories, and people do a lot of things to help their hurt, and I don't want to be put in that position.
Not necessarily positive.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So I was glad that you were open to coming on board and rolling up your sleeves and figuring out this marketing thing, because we definitely had a need there. And I guess I always look at things as it's just an entry point. It's not necessarily the be all end all. And so I think we've talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it lately, but that down the road, it doesn't have to be within the marketing, that you can morph your career much like other people in the company have morphed their career. And we talked with Joy a couple weeks back when we recorded hers, and I said, well, what's next? What's next for Joy? And I mean, she expressed interest in sales. Maybe she's got the opportunity to go more into the CRM and more of the technical route, or who knows?
Right. Yeah, and especially being at J.Geiger, it's a totally different experience than, I'm assuming, working at a Google, let's say, just because of the potential for growth and how everyone is treated equally, even though the experience levels might be different. Everybody has a chance to be their best self, and I think that's really special. Not a lot of places are like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's really what I'm looking for. And part of it's because I realize that everybody is an individual. And on the podcast we had with Justin, we talked about, education and stuff like that. And you mentioned the not straight path. It doesn't always have to go that prescribed way, and that you can have people with great skills and great abilities and a lot to contribute that maybe didn't go through that general, perceived normal path.
Some people might take it as a hot take, but you can fake it till you make it. You don't have to know everything right away. You can learn things. And that's what I'm doing now.
Yep, for sure. So what other things have you thought about? Has it crossed your mind of other things that you might do as your role here at J.Geiger grows?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been thinking about where I want to be in the next 5 years, and just being married, family is going to fit into that picture somewhere. So what that means for me is that I'll most likely have to be the breadwinner of the household. So I would like to dip my toes into maybe even J.D. Edwards. And we talked about that a little bit ago,
Yep.
but I think that's something that would be doable for me.
Mm-hmm, that's possible, certainly. Yep. And I think what it comes down to is you need to make yourself more valuable. 'Cause I watched a YouTube video recently where someone was, I want to get paid what I'm worth, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a false thing. It's worth, but there's kind of an asterisk to it. Nobody can get paid exactly what they're worth, because then there's no incentive in it for the people that they're working for.
Right.
You've got to produce more return on investment than what it costs to have you there.
Absolutely.
And so that's something like where we find ways to make that the case, and then the sky's the limit on how much you can earn.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, maybe I don't know when that would be. I mean, you could dip your toes into it pretty much any time you want, because we have a system, you have the ability, all that kind of stuff. But for now, I think the focus is primarily on the marketing and taking that to the next level. And maybe what we could do is get that tuned into where, we just have this running machine in marketing, and, we can look for someone that you can then mentor.
Right. Yeah, and
then
that
you
was
can
a
start
different
doing some of those other things.
Yeah, that was another angle that I was thinking of. What are the next steps for marketing? Because it is ever evolving and it is always changing, especially the landscape. But what does our personal marketing team look like? What is the brand going to look like in 10 years? Are we going to have a facelift? Are we going to have a total rebrand? What? It's whatever we want it. Basically,
yeah, who knows? But again, if you go back the 2 years or so from when you started to now, it's been great. We started with a decent logo. We had someone who worked for us in the past was also graphics minded. We talked about this in another video or another podcast. He created our base logo, and we've kept it. So he created the logo, the font, all that sort of stuff. But everything around it has completely morphed. And I think it's been brought up and very professional. And in fact, we got a lot of kudos from the marketing team that we had in that did an assessment for our LinkedIn in particular.
Yeah.
Did they comment on our consistent branding?
Yeah, they said that we did a really good job at staying within our brand guidelines. So, the dots and lines and all that other stuff. But they also said that our LinkedIn page, they'd like to use it as a case study because of how good it is. And not to toot my own horn, but the competitors that we are up against, they are double, triple, sometimes more the size of us.
Bigger than us. Yeah, I think there's some that are even in the hundreds or 10 times as big as us, but maybe only have twice or 1.5 times the followers.
Yeah.
And what results do they have?
Well, we are doing pretty well against them.
We've been number one.
We've been number
have
one.
Have we stayed number one, or is it just a number one blip?
We bounce from 1 to 2 to 3 to 2 to 1. We do. We're within the top 3 almost every single week.
Even though they're upwards of 10 times our size.
Correct. Yeah.
And twice the followers.
Yeah. Yeah, the followers is really what it is. The size of the company to me doesn't matter. If they have 100 followers and they're, 200
then
people,
they're not putting any time into it.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they have, 10,000 followers and the company is the size of, it's 20 people, then that's something that we could reasonably go up against.
Right. So do you have any advice for people on their LinkedIn for their companies, things that they should do?
Post more. A lot of companies don't post enough.
So how many times a week should you post? How many times a month?
3 times a week. So if you multiply that by 4, about 12.
So 3 times a week, 12 times a month minimum, right?
Minimum.
You can post upwards of how many times per week? Is there a cap?
Yeah, I would say so. You don't want to post right after the other. If you skip a day, that's what I would recommend. I would keep your content mix very, not sporadic. That's not the word.
Keep it diverse.
Diverse, yeah. You definitely want a good mix of entertaining content just to drive up the engagement. And then like factual, you could say, or more technical content just to stay on brand and put what you do across and, just put information out there.
And make sure you put faces out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because faces
help.
work. Yep. We actually did a post of an art thing for your mom. She was doing art in downtown Nina for a wine walk or something like that. And we got the most engagement. It went kind of viral. Would you consider that viral? Like 16,000 views.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's we haven't had anything like that since.
No, that was on your personal page.
Yeah.
So that could be different just because you haven't posted in a while, but that's very good.
Yeah. So faces work. And then what are some don't do's on LinkedIn for posting as a business?
Some don't do's.
Like don't post one after another.
Yeah, because
you mess up your
you'll get
algorithm.
Yeah, your algorithm will hate you and punish you for it. Usually I like to do 24 hours between each post. But some other don't do's, don't put too much text on there.
Yep.
Nobody's going to read it.
Right.
I know you just got it from ChatGPT and it sounds good.
Does that happen?
Yeah, I see a lot of posts from ChatGPT.
How can you tell that it's from Chat?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot, if you don't clean up the emojis and take out a little bit of the robot rigidness of it, you can tell pretty easily.
Okay.
But
put visual things that are on there.
Yeah, not having a visual is definitely a no-no. Although there are some, exceptions to that. If you have like a link to your website, I guess that could count as a
pulls
as
up
a
a
video.
little thumbnail of it.
Yeah, visual. I mean, but yeah, those are the biggest things for me.
Okay. Yeah, we're working with it quite a bit and playing around with it to see how we can squeeze the most out of it that we can. But it's kind of hard to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Maybe some advice from the pros will help us out too, and then it'll change the next day because that's the way that stuff works.
Constantly evolving.
Constantly.
And who knows? There might be a whole new platform tomorrow that we don't even know about.
Yeah. So I always get good music advice from you of what to be listening to. I think 5, 6, 7 years ago it was Chris Stapleton, and I just couldn't get enough of him.
Yeah. He's still killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are some current artists that we should be listening to?
Well, I go through phases in my music listening, and right now I'm in a new metal phase.
Okay, so it's probably a little heavier.
It's a little heavier, so it's not for everybody.
Yeah, probably not for me.
No, I mean you might like it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's not something I'm going to listen to while I'm drinking a glass of wine and hanging out with your mom at home.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some newer music. I'm not as plugged into that as I was in college. But Chris Stapleton did come out with a new song-ish. I think it's new, but White Horse. It's a good one.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, he's still
That
he's
became
still doing
our
it.
sitting on the dock, having a drink, looking out on the lake music.
Yep.
That was, it's so laid back. And the cool thing too, I think, is that a lot of you've always been kind of an old soul music kind of person.
Yeah.
And you even knew who Glenn Campbell was.
Yep.
And that's old for me. Like, that's my parents' music.
Yeah.
But you knew who that was.
Well, with movies like Guardians of the Galaxy,
That's right.
that's all coming back. Like Southern Nights is in that. So that's definitely a popular song nowadays. And like Stranger Things, Running Up That Hill.
Oh,
That was a
yeah.
huge song, and nobody even knew who that was from back in the day.
Yeah, it's funny how those will come back. So is Stranger Things still coming around?
Yeah, they keep delaying the new season.
Okay.
Yep.
I've heard. I stopped watching after the third season. The first one, oh my gosh, had me hooked. I couldn't stop watching it. Second season, similar. Third season, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't have the bug anymore.
That's what they do nowadays. Is
It feels like they just kept on with the same thing too much.
Yeah, I think I call it office syndrome because
Okay.
The Office is a good example of that. Right after Michael left,
Yep.
the show wasn't the same.
Right. So Steve Carell.
Yeah.
After he left. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. So who's left the show on Stranger Things, or is that a spoiler?
I don't think anybody's left. I just think it's lost its magic. It is still good, but it's not the first season.
Is Winona Ryder still in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought her character was a great character. She is a phenomenal actress.
Yeah, she's really good at playing crazy.
And who's the guy who played the cop?
Hopper.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I forget his name. He's a tremendous actor as well.
He is.
And all the kids, they have really developed. Like,
Yep.
they've become really good actors.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I think what I've heard, and I was kind of alluding to this before, is that it seems like it's like they're too old to be playing the age that they really are,
Yep.
or the age that they're portraying in the show.
It's funny because people are actually scared about, like, what is it going to be like now that they're delaying the season because they're getting so old.
Yeah.
Like, they're not 12 anymore. They're 21.
Well, they have to fast forward into the future. They have to do a time lapse or something.
Yeah, skip a couple years.
Yep. Well, I thought that was a great show, but it lost its luster with me, and so now I'm on to something else.
Yep.
So, are you watching any shows lately?
Yeah, actually, Survivor.
Okay.
That's been a big one.
Reality TV.
A lot of reality TV.
That's got to be 30 years old now.
Survivor, yeah, they're on their like 47th season. It's crazy.
They can't be that old. Well, they had to have had 2 in 1 year.
They do 2
Okay.
in 1 year. But Jeff Probst, he's almost, I think he's like 67, but he's still doing very well at hosting the show. But yeah, a lot of reality TV in our household. Another good example of that would be Love is Blind. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Mm-mm.
It's a dating show where 2 people they're unable to see each other.
Oh,
but
okay.
they can talk to each other. So it's pretty interesting.
Huh.
And you learn that people are pretty shallow.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, a lot of dumb TV.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about Nick Delmedico, but he's married and he's not on the market because he everybody thought he was a 50-year-old man from his voice and because he's a friend,
Right.
and I'm 50 something and they thought, well, he's the same age as Jeff because he's a friend.
Yep.
Turns out he's like Justin's age.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. Poor
Yeah.
guy. And he said he has the voice or the face for radio. That I don't believe.
That's a funny joke.
It is. He's a better looking guy than for radio. So
Yeah.
anyway, I guess what's anything big happening right now in your life? I know just got married.
Yep.
Watershed moment of your life?
I'd say so. It came sooner than I thought, but I am so happy about it. I want to do it again.
Yeah. Well, I was pleasantly surprised and happy about just it put a smile on your face because I think a lot of younger people, they maybe don't think about that, or they don't give it the weight that it is.
Yeah, and
in a positive way.
Truthfully, I was that way. I thought it was just a piece of paper, but it's just doing the planning process and being with your spouse and going through the day of marriage. It's definitely something that is important, because even if you're not religious or anything like that, it still, for me, was a solidifier for my relationship with my wife.
Right. It put a smile on our face.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and then I can't believe you guys did this, but it all happened so fast. You also moved right after that.
Yes, we.
not to pile on a bunch of stress, but
well, yeah, it was such a hectic December for us. I mean, getting married, Christmas, moving. Heidi was, she was in school for her master's, which she has, but she was staying just to get a few more certifications to go for a specific job. But she decided this is not for me. And she ended up going out of the program to find something else. So she had a total 180.
Huge life change there.
Yeah. Moving to a whole new city. It was just nuts.
So there's a, I don't know if it's still a thing, but like a stress calculator. So there's different things get certain points for stress level.
Yeah.
Changing a job, graduating school, buying a house, getting married, death in the family, all that sort of thing. And you guys did 3 things in there within only 4 weeks that were super high point in that.
Yeah.
So super high stress.
Yeah.
Has the stress come down?
Absolutely, yeah. Now that we're settled in and we're out of that hectic time, things have definitely mellowed out.
And you live right here in the city. What do you like living in the city, like where all the hustle bustle is?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a change of pace from where we used to live. We lived 15 minutes outside of Beaver Dam, and there's not a whole lot going on out there except for
cows and crickets.
Yeah, there's a lot of nothing out there.
Yep.
So that's definitely a change too. But it is
I
very
bet you're
nice.
doing a lot more with friends and stuff like that, though.
Oh yeah, almost every weekend. And even during weekdays, it's something that's
Everything's
doable
available.
now.
Yep.
We can hang out with our friends on a weekday now.
Right, whereas before it's an hour drive.
Yeah, and before that it was a 2-hour drive.
Yeah,
because we lived
in the southern part of the state,
close to Whitewater. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I've been
It's
really
been a real
loving
positive change
for sure, and just being able to be in the office every day has been, so impactful for my career and the relationships that I have with everybody in the office.
I think that people discount being in person a lot, and you're still going to find people who they want to have that work from home, and that's all they want to do from now on. But there's no substitute for spending time face to face with people.
Definitely not.
Because you can't make the connections.
We're social creatures, and I'm a big fan of working remote. I mean, I don't know who isn't. Like, it's nice to have a day at home where you get to have a more relaxing day, but there's not. It's not the same.
Right.
I like people too much.
Well, we have a very flexible work arrangement where we really want the professional to decide how they're going to arrange their time, but we do think it's important that you build those relationships and have those shared experiences for the future. Because that builds for the future that you're going to be working together.
Yep.
So good. Well, I'm glad to have you just a couple doors down. So.
Yeah, it's good to be in town again.
Yeah. So I guess what do you think is next? Like, what adventures are next for Jordan and his new wife?
Well, hopefully we'll be starting a family pretty soon. that's pretty exciting for me. I'm hoping to grow my career and become more involved with J.Geiger and see where.
Well, you are coming along to the May event at Blueprint.
Yes, that's
So
a huge
Dallas, Blueprint 4D.
Yeah, my first one. I'm very excited for that. I'll have to get some cowboy boots.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, area brand. So you've been talking with Justin about that, the talking points and all that stuff, because I know you already have a lot of that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we're working on the prep. So
is that what you were doing earlier today, or you were just talking through the marketing plan?
We were discussing the developments with Coalesce.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the marketing firm that we're talking with.
Yeah, great
a lot
people.
Of fun. Great stuff coming. Yeah, Appleton downtown business.
Yeah.
And we're big supporters of the downtown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jordan, for joining us today. This was an enlightening and entertaining experience for me. Really appreciate you taking the time to come this side of the microphone, and we'll get you one so that you can chime in on the other conversations we have.
Alrighty.
That sounded like me.
What? Who is it?
I don't know. What? All right. We're so glad you were able to join us today. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exciting content. Make sure to reach out to us through our website if there's a topic you want us to cover. It could be IT. It could be other. Hey, we could talk about music.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
And thank you for joining us on this conversation as you chart your course to your next destination. May your primary... Boy, I really messed that one up. Can you fix that in post-editing?
I might have sent you the old one.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation as you chart your course to your next destination. May your journey be filled with purpose and confidence. Until then, stay true to your compass. That's pretty good.
Yeah.